Back on the news feed, PM. Thanks for staying on. Now, as promised, rescue operations in Stilfontein are racing against time. Several bodies remain unattended underground. Law enforcement agencies remain on high alert with hundreds of illegal miners arrested. What is the agenda for the coming days? Let's take you live now to Ziniko Mhlaba, who is in Stilfontein. Ziniko, good to have you. Are there still people being rescued coming from underground, or what is the plan that really law enforcement and those who are carrying out operations have for the next coming days?
So, Prati, the past 4 weeks or so have been very interesting in terms of how these operations have been, done, and how these different stakeholders who have interest in this particular matter, have been engaging with each other. But also a bit interesting to see how things have been unfolding on the ground at various shafts here in Stilfontein. So when I'm talking about stakeholders, the Prati, I'm talking about law enforcement agencies, the South African Police Service, the Department of Health, Home Affairs, the justice system, but also on the other side, we've got community activists, we've got community members, we've got family members of those who are still underground, but also we've got aid organizations which have come onto the picture in terms of trying to ensure that the illegal miners underground do have access to basic necessities. So that's what has been, happening over the past 4 weeks. However, as far as where things are currently, I can tell you right now that there's still a stalemate in terms of finding out, in terms of actually deciding which strategy must be used to run these operations. I'm talking about strategies in terms of whether, government experts or those experts which were, put together or commissioned by government to come and run the operations on the ground, So that's the first option. The second option was the use of the ropes, which was initially used when these operations started 3 weeks ago, with the third option being, advising illegal miners underground to go and exit using the Margaret shaft. So that's where things are right now. So people have been, people who are still alive have been using the Margaret shaft and shaft 10. And talking about shaft 10, the last 6 people who came out at shaft 10 were 6 illegal miners who came out at midnight. And of course, they were swiftly arrested by the South African Police Service. And of course, before that, the stakeholders and us as members of the media were debating the issue of the numbers underground in terms of how many people are we dealing with here, how many people can we expect to resurface from the ground, and none amongst us had the clear, precise numbers. However, when these illegal miners came out at midnight last week, they shared some insights in terms of the numbers, but also gave us a picture in terms of what is the situation like underground. So let's take a listen to this illegal miner who gave us some insights in terms of how the conditions and the situation is underground.
Ngicela untshele ukuthi mawucabanga nibangakhi la ngaphansi in total bonke abantu abaphanga phansi komhlaba nibangakhi in total, nokuthi bayingakhi abafuna ukuphuma, bayingakhi mhlambe abafuna ukuhlala ngaphansi.
Bonke bafuna ukuphuma ngoba izinto sesihlubile, ngoba sonke siphelile soma 600 abantu alapha phakathi konkothe.
So that is an illegal miner who came out at midnight amongst the 6 who got arrested swiftly by the South African Police Service. However, the very same miners who came out in the very same night also gave us some insights on the issue of food. Remember that there was a court process or the court action that was taken by the aid organizations and the organizations that are representing artisan miners who went to court, so that the court can decide and rule on the fact that, well, all those illegal miners underground must be given food and basic necessities. So the court did rule, in favor of those organizations who had made the application. And of course, however, government did allow those aid organizations to deliver food to the illegal miners underground. And this illegal miner gave us an account in terms of how that food is operated and how that food is managed underground.
EC1 besinikezwa abantu bayi6. Keda lapho baphinda bayenza umdoko 24 hours basipha noma nekomithi bengalingani ukuthi ngalingani nekomithi bethi basinika namhlanje basikhona esinika ngo9 osinika kusasa futhi ngo9.
That was very interesting, considering the fact that efforts were made to extend of going to court so that all those illegal miners underground can have access to food. And of course, the court did grant them the permission, and of course ordered the police to open up the space so that those illegal miners can have food or something to eat. And of course, the question that was really raised very openly and very sharply by the South African Police Service. Initially, it was raised by the Minister of Police, Senzo Mkhunu, but also the Police Commissioner General Fani Masemula echoed the same sentiments in terms of the purpose really of delivering food underground to those illegal miners. But also the Commissioner explained the position in which the police service is finding itself under, considering that they are trying to ensure that these miners come onto the surface, but at the same time, court says they must be given food. This is Police Commissioner Fani Masemula giving us the position of government, especially the South African Police Service, on the issue of food supply.
But of course, yes, the amount of food that has been sent there definitely might encourage people to stay there for another year or so, which is a problem. Hence, we wanted to limit the food, but unfortunately, the court said they didn't put any limitation, meaning anything can go as it did go. So it posed a challenge, which we will go back to the drawing board and say, how do we map and how do we plan forward? Unfortunately, it wasn't us. It's the court that says anything can go. It was in misinterpretation according to the court that we misinterpreted that there can't be limitation. So now we are here where we are.
So those are some of the key accounts which took place last week as far as the Stilfontein rescue operations are concerned. So we're going to take a break, and Brati will continue with the Newsfeed PM when he returns after the break.